Do not adjust your phone. Do not adjust your television set. Don't touch that dial on the radio. It's time for a Nictatorship edition of Around the Blockchain. Cathie Wood says $25 trillion is possibly going to flood into crypto. Swan Bitcoin, are they cucking for the feds? And something is happening in the European Union that goes back to what our old buddy Georgie O's Orwell says: he who controls the past controls the future, but who controls the present? All that and more with a top tier panel of crypto analysts on this edition of Around the Blockchain. Ba with the ba, it is time for Around the Blockchain, folks. We have got probably the best panel ever assembled in the history of crypto today. We have got on the green box in the frozen north, we've got Commandant Piano Matty B. How are you?
I'm amazing. How are you doing tonight, Nicky Diamonds Dimondi?
God damn, I need you to play me to the table every single day of my life. And then next up, we've got, first time with me, but not new to the show, OJ Jordan, Busy Jordy. How should I refer to you? Should I call you OJ? Should I call you Busy?
OJ is fine, Nick. Nice to meet you.
And you hail from Cyprus, right?
Yes, right now I'm coming to you from Cyprus, Europe.
Okay, fantastic, fantastic. Was catching up with your stuff today. Yeah, and then last but certainly not least, he's a classic. He's a Renaissance man. Some people call him Classic Kev. Keston Estopinal. That was my best try. You could correct me. Kev, thanks for coming out.
That was perfect, Nick. That was perfect, man. Happy to be back on. Crypto's kind of tanking right now, but I'm going to try to hold it together, man. Excited about this show. Let's get it.
I love it. I've got my buy orders set. I've got my buy order set for Bitcoin. And of course, we have the chat. I got to look over here because the chat's over here. So do not be alarmed. That's where I'm looking. I'm looking at the chat screen. Crimson Caravan Company, Tyler 1013, Robert Cosen, Jess Jim, DCA and Prey, Maple Curtains, Jeremiah Dixon. He's a member of this channel. You see that he's got a little badge down in the corner? That is only going to grow and get more and more OP over time. If you're not a member of Discover Crypto, you need to join the DCA, the Discover Crypto Alliance. You click the join button at the bottom of this video if you're on desktop. If you're in chat, you can hit the little like dollar, it looks like a dollar icon. You can join $15 a month. You get exclusive content, exclusive Q&A, a whole bunch of cool emojis. And look, for less than a cup of coffee, actually way less than a cup of coffee a day. I mean, we're talking about like pennies a day, okay? 49 cents a day, depending on the month. You can be a part of the DCA and know the way. But let's get into it. Let's talk about Bitcoin and Swan Bitcoin. So, Bitcoin-only platform, Swan Bitcoin, home of the most toxic Bitcoin maxis on the planet, just told its customers that its banking and custodial partners will no longer service clients who directly interact with Bitcoin mixing services. Depositing or withdrawing directly to crypto mixing services could result in Swan terminating users' accounts. Swan CTO and co-founder Jan Pritzker wrote a long statement on X. It was long. I read the whole thing, explaining the firm's new policy. Swan noted that banks and custodians have changed their policies based on new rules from the U.S. Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, FinCEN. If enacted, it would require regulated financial institutions to report transactions where there was no reason to suspect involvement in transaction mixing. Samurai Wallet, one of the wallets that provides mixing services, criticized and accused the company of complying instead of mounting a defense. So there's a lot to unpack here. It's kind of unfortunate for a company that touted themselves as being so anti-bank. Now it's like, please, banks, don't hurt us. I want to go around the blockchain here as I sip my Bustelo coffee. Does Bitcoin need banks or do banks need Bitcoin? Let's start with Kevin.
All right. So about this topic, y'all, it's a lot to unpack, but if you think about it, you know, we beg for this mainstream adoption. We beg for this spot ETF. We beg for all this adoption to happen. Well, we're going to need banks. We're going to need intermediaries. The technology is not ready yet to go full on, get rid of everything. So I know there's Bitcoin maximalists that wants that. In theory, that's good. But guys, we still need the dollar. If the dollar collapses, we don't have a dollar, we don't have a world. So It's just an interesting point that we're at right now. But yes, we do still need banks, y'all. You can be pro Bitcoin and pro banks.
Okay. All right. OJ Jordy, what do you think? Do banks need Bitcoin or do Bitcoin need banks?
Well, at first we thought that we are going to just eliminate banks, right, with cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin in particular. Yeah. However, it's not really the course that we are taking right now. Pretty much everyone who needs to cash out Bitcoin sooner or later needs to be able to deposit into a bank. Of course, you can use debit cards, crypto cards, stuff like that for kind of, day-to-day transactions. But when we're talking big amounts, and especially if you've been in Bitcoin for quite a few years, you're working with big amounts. Sooner or later, you need to actually go through a bank. So they need each other, unfortunately. Symbiotic,
it sounds like. Matty B, what do you think, man?
It is.
Well, I have this kind of wild theory, and it involves Michael Saylor.
Oh, my
Only
gosh.
because he's such a big whale that I think moving forward, he will probably take on maybe a role as a pseudo Bitcoin bank type thing where you can borrow against, so to speak, without entering the banking system. Because when I think of having to maybe exit with some Bitcoin, I don't want to, right? I would like to maintain custody, maybe borrow against. It's a little bit of a foggy concept, but I think Michael Saylor is going to come in some weird way and maybe be the future of that mechanism.
Yeah, I got it, man. So I want to go to Kev here. Is it a misconception to equate institutional adoption with the success of Bitcoin?
Is it a mistake to conflate the two, is what you're asking, Nick?
Yeah.
No, I think it's a byproduct of it, so for the asset to be successful, you want the market cap to be higher, right? So money has to flow into it. Well, where's the money going to come? The money is going to come from the institutions. But the institutions aren't coming in. They're coming in because of the technology. They're coming in because of the value proposition of Bitcoin and crypto.
So are you bullish or bearish on the whole Bitcoin ETF iShares thing, Kevin?
It's really hard to say because, obviously I'd say it's a bullish catalyst, but, you always got buy the rumors, sell the news. You always want to zig when they're zagging. So, when all this comes out, I think the Bitcoin halving is going to be a bigger catalyst than this spot ETF, which I think the spot ETF will get launched first, but we're going to see. I buy Bitcoin every week, so it really doesn't affect me either way, but it's definitely going to be must-see TV.
Okay. Matty B, why should Swan have put up a fight rather than complying even before the policy from FinCEN was implemented?
Well, I think cuck was the key word there. I mean, everybody's pretty tough and talks tough till the thumb gets pushed on your neck by those big institutions. And then who knows, like what they're forced to do, what was their free will at this point? They might have got an ultimatum that they couldn't refuse. And here we are. So, I mean, yes, cuck, but what do we know?
I mean, is it unrealistic to expect them to stand up to this sort of thing? I mean, because like Coinbase is doing it, but they got deep pockets. Like, are they just
right? Well, we see that.
Are we expecting too
again
much?
And again, if you don't have the cash behind you, you're facing basically a bankruptcy to stand up, right? I think maybe the better move is to, jujitsu around till things change, rather than losing it on the hill before, you can survive.
Yeah. I'm actually pretty bearish on jujitsu because while most fights go to the ground, 100% of them start standing up. So I'd rather be punching instead of going to the ground, which is where the feds want us.
There's a type of jujitsu called beset jujitsu, which is, if you can imagine jujitsu on the ground, it's actually all the moves, all the same frames standing up in strikes. It's called beset.
Oh, so it's like a heterosexual jujitsu.
Well, it's basically a defense how to get out of trouble, right? Because you don't want to go to the ground in real life activities. You don't want to. Well, hold on, let's start on. I'm going to mount you, and then we'll fight, right? You don't want that.
Is it just boxing at that point?
No, it's more of a defense, right? It's like it's a counter to any move, and the idea is in 3 moves or less, you're out the door. It's not really like 3 moves and smash the guy's face, and you just want to get the hell out of there.
Yeah, fun fact, the statistic that people say that 99% of the fights go to the ground, you know who came up with that stat? The police, because they're trained to take fights to the ground. Most people would prefer to end the fight standing up instead of going to the ground and getting your face smashed into the asphalt. Speaking of getting smashed around, OJ, mixers, are they going to survive at all? Is there going to be a time and place for mixers, or is the clock ticking and we just need to use them while we can and then look for an alternative in the future?
Well, you know what? It's interesting because I'm not even sure whether we should be using them anymore, because at this point, things are getting monitored a lot. I mean, recently, I'm using a similar to Swan Bitcoin service here in Europe. It's called Bitpanda, based in Austria, Vienna. Very, regulated, everything legit, everything all right. For many years, I've been using them. This summer, a couple of months ago, I had email from them with 10 transactions that they picked randomly from 2019 up until recent days, that I had to prove that these were my transactions, show proof of purchase of the coins, and it was Bitcoin dash litecoin, we're talking, back 2019, 18 even. So yeah, at some point, especially when you're cashing out through these kind of regulated services, you're going to have to be able to show proof of stuff. And when you're using mixers, especially since mixers are already pretty much outlawed, you can get into trouble. So I'm not sure whether this is really in your best interest. I am all for privacy, and I was very big on privacy coins back in the day. I still love, to be able to get that privacy, that utopia that we had about the privacy and, being able to be completely self-custodian. But you are still having to use these traditional finance routes when you're cashing out, and you have to adhere to that regulation. It is how it is already. We have to adjust.
Yeah, we do have to adjust. Okay, so I want to do the Cathie Wood stuff last, because this is a better segue to our next segment, which is brought to you by Linqto. You want to trade like a professional, get in on all this IPO stuff, be like one of those goobers on the All In podcast, and put your money into basically stocks that are going to act like cryptos, where they're going to 10x, 100x. Get in on that Ripple IPO. Linqto.com, $2,500 to start a investment account there. Link in the description. Get in there. Also, get on that like button. Subscribe to the channel. Folks, we're delivering alpha every day here at Discover Crypto, and these guests are on point in everything that they do. I'm going to skip down here. We're going to come back to Cathie Woods in a second, because I like $25 trillion. Let's talk about the EU real quick, talking about privacy. The European Parliament and Council have reached an agreement on a new framework for an EU digital ID called the EID. Wait, is that right? Yeah. Kind of not great phrasing on that. Anyways, under the new thing called the EIDAS 2.0, the digital wallet will have extensive applications across public and private enterprises, supporting its targets for full digitization of public services by 2030. It's always 2030, damn it. It's always 2030. Wallet holders can use their linked digital ID. How do they link it? Well, we'll find out. To open bank accounts, make payments, store digital ID and biometric documents. Oh, that sounds awful. Such as mobile driver's licenses or professional certifications, and expedite travel services and healthcare and other areas of life. This is just full stop. I think someone was saying this is not a wallet. This is more like a life locker. Significantly, the regulation makes it mandatory for large online platforms, Facebook and Google, and a bunch of others, to accept the EU digital ID wallet for login. It says that it gives people the option of whether to share their ID and their data, but it doesn't tell you where the data is going to be stored, because, of course, it's going to be stored in the EID servers. It's one giant honeypot. Interestingly, though, Norway, Switzerland, and Britain, not Ireland, but Britain, are not participating since they are not in the EU. This is hell on earth. As I was reading into this, it's extremely fraught. Actually, Google and Facebook were like, hey, this could actually break the entire internet, because your certificate, if it goes out, and all websites have to accept this for anyone in the EU, if your certificate is broken, everyone's wallet is compromised. And as we all know, the honeypots get raided on the reg. Okay, there's not been a single honeypot that has not been raided ever. So this is a gigantic problem. Never mind about the whole free speech thing. So, Matty B, why don't regulators see this for what it is, a giant information honeypot for hackers? Because their jobs are going to be on the line when everyone gets hacked.
Well, they're not in the need to know position. So at the end of the day, Nick, as long as it's for your safety and convenience, I'm in, sign me up, no questions asked. Up here behind the maple curtain, it's borderline China in certain degrees. So I'm a little bit used to watching from afar this coming in and being implemented, no questions asked, as I sit on my porch saying, this will never take. And then sure enough, a month later, it kind of rolls in. So as I think everyone in this community are like-minded when it comes to freedom of any kind. So when we see this, we basically stink eye it and look away and think that this will never take place. But unfortunately, I think it's the future. So you got to prepare yourself. How do you prepare yourself? Well, Bitcoin, I think, is the first thing you got to do.
Yeah. Do you see, and I kind of want to get other folks, if you want to jump into, do you see there being, once this gets implemented or attempt to be implemented, do you see the economy kind of bifurcating and there are two parallel economies, one where you're like fully locked in and the other one that's a little bit more free and a little more crazy? Do you see that developing?
I do. I always talk about that too with my normie friends. It's like, well, I'm going to be outside the gates. And when they hear that, they don't like the sound of being outside the gates. Whereas I feel being inside the gates is hell on earth, right? So it just, where are you coming from, right? We all want to be outside the gates, but we're a different breed.
Yeah. Kevin, do you see parallel economies forming in the world when it comes to this digital ID sort of stuff?
Yeah, Jordan Peterson has talked about this extensively, this idea of creating, parallel structures and parallel societies. So, the more dystopic and Orwellian maybe the world gets, and, for anybody that doesn't know, this CBDC and these digital IDs, this was all conspiracy theory, when I was younger growing up. Now it's being implemented simultaneously by every government, every institution in the world. And, what we got to look at is, this idea, we need to reject the idea of becoming a global citizen. What's wrong with becoming a global citizen is you lose your sovereignty. So no matter what country, state you live in, you have your own, not just nation state sovereignty, you have your own individual sovereignty. And being subjugated to being a global citizen is going to subject you to a carbon tax, a social credit score. They've said that China is the model for the world. So we got to reject this. We got to reject this peacefully and just do not comply.
Yeah. OJ, do you think there's a path for rejection? And do you think there will be pushback? And why would it be good for politicians to listen to that pushback?
Oh, definitely there will be pushback. The problem is that the pushback will probably come quite late. I mean, I've been talking about the danger of CBDCs for the last 4, if not even more years now. And a lot of the times when I'm speaking to people who are not familiar with cryptocurrencies, it just goes over their head. It sounds kind of something from the future, how everything is digital, programmable money. They don't get it. They think that we are still far from this. And unfortunately, we're not that far. I mean, in 2020, there were about 35 countries exploring, digital CBDCs and researching. Now it's 130 countries. So pretty much all of the countries, 90% of the countries around the globe are in some stage of either research or even piloting and testing digital CBDCs, digital currencies, central bank digital currencies. And a lot of these could be programmable money, which will be super dangerous for us. I mean, it's surveillance on a completely different level than we've ever seen before.
Yeah. I, for one, am looking forward to the parallel economy and being the master of one of the parallel economies. This is something that everyone here in crypto just needs to continue to be aware of. Thanksgiving is coming up here in the States. Try to talk to people about it. Don't be weird about it, but try and talk to people about CBDCs, why they're bad, why they're going to affect you. And, and try to instill in whoever will listen the ideas, the ideology of self-sovereignty, because even though the forces that we are up against are not of flesh and blood, but they can be overcome. But they can only be overcome by us coming together. But coming together over an metric F ton of money, Cathie Wood predicts $25 trillion, trillion shroot bucks could be flowing into crypto to the market by 2030. Again with 2030, damn it. ARK Invest CEO Cathie Wood recently told CNBC that she predicts a $25 trillion market cap in crypto by 2030. This forecast comes as ARK prepares to launch 5 new ETFs in partnership with 21 Shares. Wood also said that she does not understand Chair Gary Gensler's alleged animosity toward Bitcoin, since he definitely is very knowledgeable about the asset. It was funny to see her kind of walk around that today on CNBC's Squawk Box, getting pressured by Aaron Ross Sorkin. Like, what's wrong with Gary? He knows better. And she's like, yeah, I think he just wants a job in the Treasury. And they're all just like, oh my God. Given how knowledgeable SEC Chair Gensler is, as a quote about BTC, it's hard to come up with a logical reason for his standing in the way. Honey, it is logical. He's a government barnacle. He knows he can't do anything worthwhile with his life, so he needs to cling on to the peer that will keep him alive to filter feed for the rest of his days. That's why he's doing it. Would refer to quote unquote speculation surrounding Gary Gensler's desire to be Treasury Secretary. ARK Invest spot Bitcoin ETF application is one of a dozen that the SEC is currently reviewing. She says there's a second in line. She's also looking at an Ethereum one, and she actually talked about Solana on the show as well. What the hell? Okay, so let's just go around the blockchain, as it were. Any spot crypto ETF this year, yay or nay? Starting with Kevin.
No, nay. I think they're going to be in 2024. I believe that we saw didn't we have some like leaked BlackRock documents saying sometime like middle of 2024. So yeah, I'd be happy to be wrong on this. And y'all, I got to say this one thing. Do not bring up CBDCs. Nick, are you crazy? Do not bring up CBDCs during Thanksgiving. I promise it won't end well. I've tried. I've done it before. It's not going to end well, fellas. But Cathie Woods is the GOAT, man. If y'all don't know who Cathie Woods is, y'all need to go watch some of her interviews. One of the most respected people on Wall Street, and the fact that she's bullish on, not just Bitcoin, but the entire industry and Solana, that blew my mind, man.
Yeah. She is hot. It's those glasses, man.
Every single Cathie Woods, man.
Absolutely. Love she is hot. Cathie, get on the show. Get on the show. Very bullish on Cathie. OJ, spot anything. Ethereum, Solana, Dogecoin, Bitcoin, spot anything this year, you think?
No, I don't think so. We're talking about America, of course, right? Because we already have spot ETFs in Switzerland and other places. No, I don't think it will be by the end of this year. Most likely second quarter of next year. That's how I feel.
Okay. Matty B, scene change. Sorry, go ahead, OJ.
Just quickly about Cathie Wood. I must say that she is one of the biggest bulls out there. Her predictions are always very bold. I love her for that, but at the same time, I don't think she's very realistic. I feel that her numbers are usually inflated, and it's probably just to gain a bit more confidence in all of the investors, in ARK investments. I love her to bits, but still, I feel that her predictions are always very inflated.
Yeah, she's talking her book. Look, whatever. She's too darn cute to get mad at. Speaking of too darn cute, Matty B, scene change. I love it. You're back. Your mooch is back on the piano.
Downstairs,
yeah. Okay, so is the ETF bad for crypto? Are we just kind of like handing everything back over to the banks that Satoshi told us that we're not supposed to trust?
Yeah, a little bit. It's kind of like when you have a group in high school, you're not the coolest kids, but you can throw some pretty good parties, and then all of a sudden the parties start getting traction, and then one Saturday night you get a knock on the door, and it's all the socias and the jocks and their Corvairs outside, and they're like, I heard this party's pretty good, can we come in? You shut the door, you talk with all your friends, it's like, we don't want these people at the party, do we? It's our party, we kind of created this, and you're like, wow, they might make the parties bigger and better and super cool. Maybe we should let them in. And then you let them in, and they ruin the party. But I think the second subject was so important about the CBDC and what Kevin said about bringing up that discussion. The reason why it always goes sideways is that if you're having the discussion from an entrepreneur or you own your own business, it's very easy to paddle in 100 different directions in this economic stream, right? You want to turn on a dime, you can turn. But when you're talking about CBDCs and changing things to people with jobs who are employees who have like a golden parachute 20 years, if they play their cards right, they get a bunch of money back, and they don't want to rock that boat. They don't want to hear it because it is literally rocking their belief system boat. So it doesn't end well, even though you should bring it up a little bit just to test the water. Just to test the water.
Yeah. Get them kind of used to it. It's like backing the sugar out of your coffee. Like just don't do 3 spoonfuls. Just do like 2 spoonfuls, then wean yourself off of it. Shout out to all the members in the chat. You got Shake and Bake, got Jeremiah. Go ahead and be a member of Discover Crypto. Join the Discover Crypto Alliance. Matty B, real quick, and then I'll go to the rest of the guests. When we see these ETFs get approved, is this going to be like some type of explosive FOMO, or is it going to be like a small pump like what we saw recently, and then it'll just like ladder up with the rest of the market? How are you kind of seeing this play out timing wise?
It's a tough one because the moon boy wants to see a God candle, because I think that would be just like so revitalizing for everyone, you know, after 2 years of this brutal winter, to see this God candle. But there's a lot of neat movies out there where it comes out and we see initial tank and its exit liquidity, and then it comes up. Like if I was to write the movie, it'd be God candle, but I'm not a writer.
Yep. OJ, what are you thinking? Let's say there's an Ethereum ETF approved in February. Are we going to see, is that going to kick off the bull run, or is it going to continue to burn and wait for actual liquidity to come back to the bigger markets et al.?
The liquidity can actually come quite quick. I feel that a spot ETF in America is definitely going to be very bullish. We already saw what happened with just the rumors, right? We did have a couple of days of not being certain. Was that an approval? Did we, and even just that, with all the uncertainty, is still kicked, quite a decent pump. So an actual approval, an actual approved ETF is definitely going to kickstart. I mean, we are already in a bull run, let's face it. We've been making higher highs and higher lows. We are having now a pullback today, maybe for a few days. We are, of course, going to have also a bit of quiet time after Christmas and everything, but we are already in a bull run.
Yeah. Okay. OJ's called it. OJ's called the bull run, the beginning of the bull run here, November 2023. Kevin, yay or nay, are we in the bull run? And are you looking for explosive ETF news, or is it going to kind of get rolled into the larger narrative and just be a window for liquidity that's going to kind of melt up?
That's a tough one, because it really depends on what your definition of a bull run is. I'd say we've hit the bottom. So I guess by definition, we are in a bull run. That doesn't mean we won't see more volatility. Now, about the spot ETF, about, that inevitable approvable, like Jordan just said, look at just the news of the spot ETF approval, look how crypto reacts. But then again, y'all, we are dealing with some very, very sophisticated institutions. They refer to us as the dumb money for a reason. So I wouldn't be surprised if what's going to happen either way. I'm looking forward to this approval, like, kind of like the Super Bowl coming up, because something big is going to happen either way. But, just keep that long-term perspective if you're in these markets, and, you'll always come out ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Look for the liquidity, watch the VIX, watch Matty B, follow Kevin, follow Jordy. These are all folks that are giving you fantastic information day after day. We appreciate them on the channel. That's it for Around the Blockchain. We're not doing points anymore. We're not doing winners anymore. Everyone's a winner on Around the Blockchain because we're all buying Bitcoin. I know, Kevin. It's okay. We're not doing points anymore. It's fine. All right. We're done with that. Okay. We're done with that. Just Jim, Crimson Caravan Company, C90FTW, Wick, Shake and Bake. Who else? Theo Rodriguez, Edu J, Co Kev, and Eclectic Stable says Corvair question mark. Corvair, it's a car. Real quick, just 20, actually no less than that. 10 seconds from each of y'all if you want to tell us where they can find you. We'll start with Kevin. Where can they find you on the interwebs?
Man, y'all can find me all over the internet. Just YouTube, Kevin Estopinal. Hit me up on Twitter, Kevin Estopinal, or I'll be on here as much as these guys will let me on.
All right, OJ.
I'm on all social media at Busy Georgie, including my YouTube channel, and my video podcast is called Crypto Corner on YouTube.
And Pietro Matty B, who needs no introduction.
YouTube, every morning at 8, I do some musical TA, a little piano and technical analysis for y'all, and then do a little live stream and chat after.
It's pretty great. All their stuff is pretty great. I am your host. I'm the Nictator, Nick Dimondi. You can follow me on X. This is Discover Crypto. This has been Around the Blockchain. Appreciate all y'all. See you at the top.